The People's Channel of the people, by the people, for the people. The People's Channel of the people, by the people, for the people. The People's Channel of the people.
Hello and welcome to TPC Weekly. My name is Chad Johnston, Executive Director of the People's Channel. TPC is Chapel Hill's nonprofit community media center and public access TV station. We teach you how to make your own media and give you the tools and resources to do so. If you're interested in any of our programs, courses, or schedule, please run on over to our website, www.thepeopleschannel.org. TPC Weekly is a program where we bring in nonprofits, community groups, and people of interest in our community and give them a little time in the media, which we're all not very used to. And today we're really fortunate to have with us Caramore Community Incorporated, and I'm joined with two individuals from there, Jacob Long, who's the admissions director, and Eric Morris, who's the weekend relief manager. How's it going?
Doing well. Yeah, thank you.
Glad to have you guys on.
Thanks for having us.
Tell me just what does Caramore do? Tell us a little bit.
Right. So what we are essentially is a vocational and residential program that assists individuals with severe and persistent mental illness. And it's a platform and environment so that one can recognize meaning within themselves as they go through our 3 tiers. And each tier means increasing responsibility, and essentially it means increasing freedom. And so with that freedom comes a responsibility. And so essentially they come into the program and they start out working a job 30 hours a week on one of our job crews. And as they traverse the program, they eventually move on into an apartment with a housemate, and then finally move out into the community, have their own apartment, and are working competitively out into the community. And sometimes we actually have people that go through the program that become colleagues.
So anyone with a persistent mental illness comes in and you try and give them skills, try and sort of refocus. Tell me a little bit more about how that works.
Sure. Basically, Caramore is a structured environment. There's a lot of stability within our program. And so when one comes into Caramore, it's not like walking into like some sort of like regime or something of that nature. You're walking into a very flexible and malleable environment that's willing to work with each individual on an individualistic level. Okay, so what we like to do is like it's person specific, and we want to be able to assess that person's skills and abilities from their past. So we have a panoply of people that have come to the program. Some individuals that have actually have a college degree, some people that have had a master's degree, some people that have had like an 8th grade education, and we take all that into consideration. So no triumph is too great or too small. Someone with an 8th grade education, a triumph for them may be working at a fast food restaurant. And someone that has a master's degree, well, a triumph for us would be getting them back out into the field. We all have our own difficulties and challenges in life, and what we like to do at Caramore is embrace the quality of life that can actually be espoused and that can start again. And so that's what we do.
That sort of points to an issue that mental illness is across the spectrum, right? I mean, it's not a...
Yeah, I think it's funny. When I think of mental illness, first thing that comes to mind is a physical illness of the mind. I think oftentimes people, when they think of mental illness, like, I think, well, if you've you can lose an arm and you're an amputee, and then they say, well, you still got hope. You can still make it. You lose your mind, there's no hope left, right? Well, that's absurd within itself. What we like to look at is it is a physical illness, but we approach it as everyone has their own difficulties, and we're here is to do practical things to assist individuals with the difficulties in their lives without focusing on the mental illness and not using it as a crutch. So it's an environment where one can flourish and really begin to find meaning within themselves.
Gotcha. It seems like an interesting approach to it. Can you, and I don't know, maybe Eric, you'd be better at this, can you sort of just walk me through what someone has just started, they're sort of on the tier 1, what would a day look like for them?
Well, it would start getting up, taking any meds, and then working on our supported, either of our supported employment groups. That, from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, the next 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then throughout the day, this person might, maybe preferably later in the day, this person might have to see the doctor or see a therapist or something like that. But there's after we get home from the from work, there's dinner preparation, financial arrangements, you know, rent and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's just it's pretty much a normal day as anybody else would have. It really is.
Except so are folks getting assistance along that sort of path?
Yeah, assistance. That's
Yeah, it's a very holistic, comprehensive way of approaching things. So we do have a mental health liaison that works our organization, so that if an individual does need to go to a psychiatric appointment or has a therapist appointment or something of that nature, then we'll provide transportation as need be. And then what we hope to see happen is we hope to see active volition over time, so that, you know, that there's not a reliance on the mental health liaison. There's not a reliance on the home supervisor or on Eric to say, hey, it's time for you to take your medications, you know. And instead of that happening, we want to see people actively choosing what's going to be beneficial for themselves. Now, I'm not the one that's necessarily going to be saying, this is what's beneficial for you. I want an individual to be able to realize that themselves. And that's what we think will happen with the kind of structured and stable environment that we have there at Caramore.
You talk about employers. You run employment yourselves as an organization, or you work with community partners? How does that aspect work? Because as I said, as you said, you're dealing with a lot of different people from very different backgrounds, so I imagine employment types is a key issue.
So the first thing we look at is when someone comes into the program, we have 2 major work crews, and with those work crews, what we'll say is that we'll ask an individual, does this work crew fit you, or does this work crew fit you? And we'll be able to say, well, with your skills and abilities, maybe this is a befitting job for you. And then later on, we'll say, as well, you know, you have 3 years under your belt of college. Let's move on to competitive employment out in the community beyond Caramore, and then finding something along those lines. So, for instance, like currently, we have an individual that's in the program who was a dental assistant for 10 years and had some difficulties and is moving beyond that, and it's a step kind of thing. And so right now this person's working in a job that's essentially going to be able to catapult them forward, and so we work to work towards the educational goals and towards vocational goals to get an individual to a place where it's going to be realizable without a tremendous amount of stress. Again, it's really about looking at the quality of life and improving that.
And so you'll help them find placements?
Oh yeah, we have a job coach, Ted McCreary. Yeah.
And we'll come back to it, but Eric, you were actually part of this program. Tell us a little bit, sort of, how did that work for you in terms of employment?
Employment? Well, I had held jobs in the past. I actually started treatment when I was like 16 and have had like 11 hospitalizations. But I had worked in the community before. I had even worked as a teacher, but I had really, you know, was really in a difficult situation myself at that time in terms of my health, my mental health. And so I came in, went through the program, and it really provided a good platform that I could use creatively to creatively create what I wanted of myself. So I went ahead, I eventually went ahead and got a master's degree, and I'm also holding, as well as weekend supervisor, I'm also holding a full-time job in a library. So,
oh wow!
Yeah.
And was that your background previously? Did you ever think you'd do that?
No, I mean I had thought about that previously, but I had been a teacher. I also have a degree in psychology, which helps with this job. But I had been a high school teacher for 5 years, and I'd done various jobs, stumbled through a good many of them over the years. But had planned to do this, but it was just not in a position to do it. But like I'm saying, the stability of Caramore gave me a real good baseline from which I could just build what I wanted to.